Good morning. I did a video while I was ambling this morning, but it didn't turn out to my satisfaction, so I figured I'd do it again. The first thing I want to address is the herder comment by some random schmuck who seems to believe that judges have some sort of a vested interest in the outcome of cases other than having justice done. And they don't. They just don't. And I'll tell you why. Number one, it's because they are required under the, well, at least in California, and I'm sure that other states follow the same kind of principles, they're required under the California bar rules to recuse themselves. There's a model canon, judicial canon rules. If they have a conflict of interest, they have to recuse themselves. If they don't, then that is appealable error. You could probably, at the point where they refuse to recuse themselves, you could probably it'd probably be a petition for a writ of mandamus, I guess, or prohibition, something along those lines, to get them to recuse themselves. If for whatever reason it gets all the way to the end, you could probably appeal it. But they are not allowed to have an interest in a case that they are judging. Which leads me to the next sidestep, because all of these end up in sidesteps. All these window lickers, they lose on the issue. They have nothing to back their supposition. And so then they sidestep to the next thing. Now the contention is that it's not courts that are corrupt. It's not judges that are tyrants. It's the DA's office. It's the DA, the U.S. attorney, the city prosecutor, whoever the prosecuting attorney is. That is who is corrupt. So number one, you've eliminated all the civil side of the matter. And I'm sure that in the criminal side, the judge won't have much of a vested interest unless it's like a family member or a friend who's on trial. In which case, again, he'd be required to recuse himself. So, tyranny, I'm sure you could find a definition somewhere that would include merely exercising your lawfully granted authority under any circumstances. Tyranny, I'm sure you could find something along those lines. But tyranny has a different connotation. If you are saying that somebody is a tyrant, you're implying that there are no controls, no political controls by the people over them. For example, if you go to North Korea, the dictator there is a tyrant. There is no political way for the people to remove him from office. If they want to remove him from office, they are going to have some sort of a coup or revolution. There's no political means of dealing with that person. Of course, with the president in the United States, he's limited to 2 4-year terms, so at most you got 8 years of him, and there's always the impeachment process, which the Dems are going to absolutely screw the pooch on. I mean, just ask the Republicans how well it went to impeach a president for a non-crime. It didn't go well when they tried it with Clinton. Anyway, I digress. So if you look at, let's start off with judges, because that's where this initially started. If you look at judges, there are ways to get rid of judges. Now, everybody says, oh, they're judges for life, blah! Yes, the judges for life, because there are some, can be impeached. They can be removed by the people. Now you're going to say, well, the impeachment process in the state or in federal government isn't run by the people. The people don't vote on it. I understand we're a republic. The people pick the people who do the governing. So you can elect representatives, you can elect senators who are going to reflect your desire to impeach, etc. The DA, and additionally, judges have limited power. They have to have personal jurisdiction over the people in the courtroom, over the plaintiff / petitioner / prosecutor, or over the defendant / respondent. So if they don't have that, they have no power. They have to have jurisdiction over the actual contention, over the legal contention. There are certain things that some courts can hear that other courts can't hear, and vice versa. There has to be subject matter jurisdiction. Like, you can't get into federal court unless either Congress has provided you a way into federal court, or there is diversity of citizenship. I mean, there have to be methods for you to get in front of that court. Otherwise, the court doesn't have jurisdiction over you. Now, with administrative orders over judicial property, that's different. They have the judiciary, like the Arizona Supreme Court, has jurisdiction over court property. They were granted the power by the Arizona legislature to create security protocols and rules and policies for their properties. So there you go. But if it isn't a lifetime appointment, and if there is no judicial impeachment available, which I would be surprised if there was no judicial impeachment available, then it would be an election type situation where when the judge goes up for re-election, all the bad, terrible things that he did would come back to haunt him. There's probably a governing body like the state bar of some sort of a state disciplinary committee that can remove the judge's licensed practice in that state or in front of that court, and can then, because he's no longer licensed, he would no longer be eligible to be a judge. So there are ways that the people, and remember that the California state bar, it is a governmental agency. It is a public corporation, public organization that is put into effect by statute. It is a statutory corporation. So it is regulated, run. It is a arm of the California government. Anyway, that was for Auditor Truth, who doesn't want to believe that the California State Bar is a governmental agency. Sorry, kid, it's true. Anyway, so if you step down to the district attorney from the courts to the prosecuting arm of the executive branch, number one, district attorneys are typically elected. So if you don't like what they're doing, the people have the opportunity to elect somebody else. And second, you might want to consider that the only authority, the only power the district attorney has is to press charges. But that is tempered by the grand jury or a judge, magistrate, whatever, of some flavor, finding that there's actual probable cause. So there are lots of checks on the power of the district attorney. All the district attorney can do is press charges if he can get a judge or a grand jury to agree that there was probable cause. That's it. And again, there like in California, there are state bar considerations. You have to believe you have a winnable case. You have to believe that you have probable cause as the prosecuting attorney in order to bring the charges, etc. And finally, police, because obviously this is all going to roll back to police, because hating the police appears to be the real core of this community, not the First Amendment. I get way more questions about police detentions and about can I actually have self-defense against the police. Generally speaking, no. That's generally codified in the laws. Very limited circumstances, and you're probably going to be wrong and end up dead or shot or otherwise injured by attempting to use self-defense against the police. It's a losing proposition, whether it's legally allowed or not. You got to survive long enough to get into court, and that can be an issue. Again, it's an idiot's move to resist arrest. It is fucking stupid. Don't do it. You won't find more than a handful of attorneys would ever recommend resisting arrest, and 4 out of 5 doctors or 4 out of 5 dentists agree that chewing sugarless gum is better than chewing sugar gum if you're going to chew gum. So, there's always some idiots out there, but don't resist arrest. Don't use self-defense against the cops. Unless they pull a gun and start shooting at you, in which case, well, what the fuck you got to lose? You're getting shot at anyway. But you still might want to, you still probably want to put up your hands and throw down your gun so they don't have justification to shoot at you anymore. Anyway, I am digressing at this point. But the real enemy of this community is apparently the police, and they're not my enemy. They serve a useful function in society. Are there bad cops? Absolutely. But are all cops bad? Absolutely not. And are we better off for having cops than not having cops? Yes, we're better off for having cops. So, cops have a lot of controls on them as well by the public. Unless you're a lazy, no good ne'er-do-well, you could probably get elected to a town council, which would give you access to determine who the police chief is. It can allow you to put pressure on the police chief. Or you could run for mayor, or you can apply to be city manager, check state and local laws and see how these things work. But the city has power over the police chief. And all the police can do, all they can do is enforce the laws that the people have made through their representatives. That's all the police can do. So if the police are out there making arrests that lack probable cause, and by lack probable cause, I mean it goes beyond a reasonable mistake of law or a reasonable mistake of fact. But if they are making unreasonable arrests that lack probable cause, then number one, they run afoul of other agencies who have laws in place, who can enforce laws, who can actually bring perhaps federal charges against these officers. So there's that. There are administrative hearings. There are. You could get your city to pass certain ordinances or rules clarifying things that the officers are abusing or misusing. And in all of these things, there is a potential, except for judges. It's really hard to sue a judge. But for wrongful prosecution or wrongful arrest of some flavor, typically there are going to be not just criminal potential liability, but there can also be civil liability. So and these criminal and civil liabilities are done through courts. And you're like, oh, the court just said, well, it's going to be through a different court, obviously, because again, the judges have to recuse themselves. Like if a judge heard the case that was a wrongful prosecution, he's probably going to have to recuse himself from hearing a case against the prosecutor for wrongful prosecution. So anyway, I hope that civics lesson cleared some things up. At the end of the day, I think a lot of the hostility in this community is misplaced anger at having to conform to the laws in society. And that's kind of sad, but, there's a reason why this community parallels the sovereign citizen community. Now, in case anybody's wondering what I did this week, I went to San Francisco with my boss. We judged a mock trial competition that was held at the San Francisco County Superior Court. Then we went to dinner at Boulevard. And then we went out for drinks and dancing at Johnny somebody or the other's dueling piano. Johnny Fogel's dueling pianos. That was kind of fun. And then we spent the night at the Hotel Vitale at JWD Hotel. If these are the kind of actions of a man who's unemployed, who is doing poorly in life, who is under investigation by the state bar or by DAs or whatever nonsense that Damon Jones, D-Cup Jones, is dreaming up. Chief Reverend Dr. Pastor Pope Raymond Damon R. Jones. Oh, by the way, I still have D-Cup Jones's date of birth and social security number, the full social security number. So, and I know your mother's maiden name, brother. If you want that, Damon Jones, you can always text me or call me. I may even answer if I know it's you, and I could prove to you that I have your full name, your full social security number, your full date of birth, and your mother's maiden name. You know, Mr. Jones, I haven't done an asset search on you, but it's probably not a good idea to be making wild accusations about an attorney if you have any property. And I believe you own a home, but that's coming from Patrick, so who knows on that. Anyway, just my 2 cents. I hope you got some sort of proof about something, but good luck. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.